Now, an hour of clarity for exhausted people of our nation mired in toxic partisanship. Left versus right, us versus them. While we pay to keep our politicians fighting, how do we, the people, rise up and solve the great challenges of our time? We do it by embracing freedom and liberty. There may be no such thing as a free lunch, but this hour is as close as it gets. Welcome to A Free Solution.
All right, welcome to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thank you so much for joining us on this wonderful, wonderful day. Today, well, it's the first Friday of the month, first Friday before the first Saturday. So we are talking with our friends from The Liberty Show. We have Kevin Fortune on the line, Tim Smith, and Damon Kennedy. All three of you, thank you all for being here. We'll start with Kevin first. Kevin, how you doing, bud?
Wonderful. How are you doing?
Doing great. So it's good. It's good to have you guys on the show again. And of course, you know, I'm a frequent guest on the Liberty Show too. We did a great show on youth incarceration the other night. That's awesome to listen to. And Kevin, remind me again, what show do you guys have coming up that's going to be airing at 7 p.m. Saturday and Sunday on WYSL?
That's a good question. I was thinking that today. I do so many shows. I believe it's the Israel-Palestine or the mass incarceration. I'm not sure, but it's going to be great whichever one it is. We're on different stations. Well, we have different shows on different stations, so I was a little confused on that. But tomorrow, 7 p.m. in Rochester. Always great to be on your show, Kevin. I feel bad because I had been missing a little bit, but I am back. The Liberty movement is growing. Our shows are growing, and this day, a market calendar, December the 4th, we're going to be up in Rochester, the Liberty Show, to do a live taping and to celebrate our first year on the radio anywhere in the world, and it was right there on WYSL. So we're going to be up in Rochester.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right, yeah, so make sure you pay attention to that. We'll have some more information on when they're going to be up here doing some stuff, and you know we'll figure something out. Everything's going to be totally normal in New York by then. We're going to have some sort of event associated with it, I'm sure. And all right, so part of the reason we had you guys on though too is not just to talk about what you have coming up next on the Liberty Show and all that stuff, but it's also because I did that critical race theory show, I don't know what, like 2 weeks ago then. And then like the moment it was done, I got a call from Kevin, who's like, all right, Kevin, we're going to talk about this stuff. So I want to give you an opportunity to follow up with that. We'll talk about some critical race theory stuff today, how you guys felt about it. I thought was a very neutral point of view on that. I wasn't like hyper partisan in either direction. I don't like the government, telling kids what they have to learn in school. I don't like some elements of critical race theory, but it does bring up important points about the law. But Kevin, of course, you gave me an earful, and I appreciate your feedback. All this, we're here to talk about some of that stuff on air. So Kevin, take it away.
Okay. Well, being the King of Liberty, I'm always trying to help people. But, and your point, Kevin, you started off really well. It's about liberty. It's not even about the critical race theory or whatever. First of all, I would think today, the whole thing is we're talking about the wrong stuff in our country. The right now is starting to do what the left is doing. They take any issue and just exploit it to the hilt. We should be talking about the lack of democracy in our country, the fact a lot of kids can't read or write, and the crime, and we're losing our freedoms and liberty. We're talking about all of this other stuff. As far as me personally, number one, the government should be not telling people what to teach or not to teach, and especially one governor doing an executive order banning it or promoting it. That's not democracy. That is totally wrong. Personally, as far as the critical race, I could care less if they teach it or not. And I am a person of color, Native American heritage and Black, but I'm darker skinned, so that's what people refer to you as. But the thing is, we need to be educating kids, and this is my pet peeve, as Damon and Tim. We're not educating kids. We should be teaching algebra, trigonometry, calculus, teaching them how to read or write, speak English, teaching them how to build computers and robots. But we're worried about race, even though it's very important. It has shaped our country, but the emphasis should not be arguing over this. We should be arguing over, should we be building robots? You look at Asia, China, Korea, all those other places, they're building robots they're teaching people well. We should be teaching our kids how to budget their money, how to invest, how free markets work. And we get sidetracked. It's very intentional. It's called displacement theory in psychology. Let's talk about something else so we don't deal with the real issues of the elephant in the room. So that's kind of my feeling on it. But that being said, because race has influenced so much in our country historically, and this is not a matter of debate, it's a fact. Now, whether you accept the truth of the facts, that's up to you. But it is something that should not be denied or whitewashed. Nobody wants to talk about your bad history, your bad past, the skeletons in the closet. But all of these type of things, they still need to be addressed. How it's addressed is, I think, up to the teachers and to parents. I just think the schools are going in such a wrong direction of, we're more worried about personal pronouns than we are about being able to read or write. So that's just my introduction. So I'm not going to do a lot of the talking today, Kevin. I'm going to let Damon and Tim, we're going to probably start with Damon. Damon is our race relations director for the Liberty Show, and Tim is our public policy director. So I'm going to let them address some of the specific things.
All right. We'll let Damon and Tim talk. Don't worry, they'll get plenty of time to share their views on this. I don't know, like my views on should we be teaching robotics? I don't know. I've seen Terminator. I'm not sure that I want to be teaching robotics in school. Like, what if the robots take over, Kevin? What if
we should be teaching technology? And the reality, that's just automation, robotics is just the future. But actually, it's the present. We don't want it to take away from people, but that's just the way it's going to be. But in a free market system, there still would be plenty of jobs, and there's more, to make money off of it. But what we're doing is we're producing such a illiterate generation, and then we see all of the unemployed. We see so many people on welfare, but most of them are not. They can't get an adequate job to support themselves, but they're not fit for the workforce. And that is my thing. Not just in jobs, but even a lot of schools are taking out home economics. If you know how to cook or sew, you can make money. You can, but a lot of the schools, we don't prepare kids to go and make money. We prepare them to, be on welfare or to be, this UBI, send everybody a check, which is just garbage to me. So
Kevin, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on there, man. So all right, let me address a couple of these things because to me, I don't think schools need to do everything, right? Like to me, like as much as we should be pulling education out of the school system as much as possible because I don't trust the school system. And maybe I'm cynical, not because of where I went to high school, but what I see going on in my city in Rochester. I would rather see a lot of these skills transferred to, like, for goodness sakes, home economics. Kids can learn that stuff on TikTok. I'm not kidding, actually. Like, seriously, like I have learned so much on that stupid platform, about like cooking and like repairing clothes and like growing stuff. Like, cause that's what the Chinese algorithms want to teach me on TikTok. But for real though, like you go on YouTube and you can learn all this stuff. Like that's how kids are learning nowadays when they want to like engage with something, when they want to learn how to like fix something on their truck or cook something or, repair something in their house. They're not doing it in school. We don't need the government to teach us that stuff. They're learning it online. And
well, I agree with you to a certain extent, but my point is we're teaching and talking about the wrong stuff while they are in school. If you're going to have them, teach them something productive they can live off. Now, to your point, they're not quite learning. They're seeing stuff, but they're not getting it because we have such an elite. Most of the kids, people I run into, they can't even read or write. And when I grew up, part of the problem in America, we had a whole different generation where we taught stuff in school, but we taught practical things and functional things and productive things. And like to Ayn Rand's problem in Atlas Shrugged, our society is becoming so non-productive now. So I'm not advocating more government or more school, but we need to start teaching instead of sitting around being philosophical and ideological. That's where we're at. And then kids get out and they can't support themselves. And then they want the government or other taxpayers to support them. And I'm not for that. As a libertarian, we need to be, even to your point, we had this private discussion, even teaching history, because it's so biased now. It's so whitewashed in so many different ways, not just racially whitewashed, but just, let's just be positive. Let's not talk about the ugly parts, or let's talk about certain things more than others. So I do agree with you. It should be less government in it. But I just think that the schools need to be preparing people for life. And we're the only nation that other countries, even like the Jews, when they have a bar mitzvah, they prepare their people for life. They prepare them to get married. They prepare them how to balance a checkbook, how to get credit. We don't deal with a lot of that in most schools.
I mean,
in
the thing
America.
is, I don't know that like I expect the schools to do that. You know, like we got to expect like families and broader societies and communities to do that stuff, because like you don't come out of school like even back in your day, Kevin, you don't come out of school like prepared for adulthood. You should in theory come with a base set of skills that you can then apply to new situations. Like that's what education ought to be. And you know, and again in this case too, like I kind of agree, like our school systems are not preparing kids for real life, you know, either to like go directly into the workforce, even to go into college. One of the big issues, like when I was at college, I was on a curriculum committee where like new courses would be approved. And the big issue with a lot of new courses at this school is like a lot of students needed remedial education to be able to like be prepared to take these courses. Even though their grades in high school reflected that they did really well, they would come in and like not be prepared to engage at a college level. And that was sad. And this isn't a problem specific to the school I went to. This is a nationwide problem. It's a problem with our education system. All right. And I know we're running out of time for this segment. And Tim and Damon, I promise I will let you talk next segment. We'll make sure we get you some airtime too. And we're talking about the education system. We're talking about critical race theory. And I do want to make sure we get to the point of like, well, what should we be teaching about history in school, if anything? Because Kevin and I disagree on this. Kevin Fortune and I disagree. I do think we need to teach some history in school, but we're probably doing it wrong. All right. So thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. We're going to be back in just a few minutes.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
The Finger Lakes Castle team is in its 7th decade of factory direct service to the service professional. From cleaning the ins and outs of your vehicle to keeping you on the road, Castle's got you covered. Castle makes streak-proof glass cleaner, FDA-registered sanitizers, and EPA-registered hospital-grade disinfectants. Remember, when you need to keep it clean, use what the pros use. Castle. Accept no substitutes.
Castle keeps it clean. A message from the National Police Association. It used to be that any able-bodied person would offer to assist a police officer in danger. Now, passers-by are more likely to take a video. There's a better use for your phone when an officer's in trouble. Call 911. Tell the operator where you are and what you see. Then, start your video to provide evidence later. To learn more about how you can assist law enforcement, visit nationalpolice.org. That's nationalpolice.org.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
A free solution.
All right, welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thank you so much for joining us We're here live on WYSL until 1 p.m. on this wonderful Friday. And shout out down the line to our friends over at WACK out in New York. Appreciate you being here. And the people listening online. Free Solution on YouTube, a Free Solution on Facebook, and the Kevin Wilson pages on Twitter and Facebook as well. Thank you all for being here. No phone calls today because we have Kevin Fortune on the line from The Liberty Show, along with Damon Kennedy and Tim. And just to get to a couple comments, Will Phillips, who helps out with The Liberty Show, says that it's the Israel-Palestine show tomorrow. So we're talking about that. I was on that one. I was on the Israel-Palestine one. Tim O'Connor also says hi. And for those of you listening, I know I said Wednesday, like, oh, me and Tim are going to do Friday. I forgot that it was The Liberty Show Friday, but every other Friday, except for this one, Tim O'Connor is going to be joining me. So we have lots of fun on our Fake News Fridays. And now we got a comment from Jamie. He says, history is history. Can't bring race into it. How many kids can read a tape measure? If my kid's school spread that racist crap, I'll yank them out. Back on to history. Why not teach what the founding fathers did? What this country was founded on? Life, liberty, and the American way. So we're talking about this over the break. Jamie, thanks for a comment. We're going to have Damon respond to that first. Damon, what do you think about that?
Well, there's a 30,000 foot view that we want to talk about critical race theory when we talk about that it's a graduate level course. But I think critical race theory is the latest gaslighting that the conservative movement tries to do, because rather than actually talk about issues that are pertinent to helping improve people's lives, they need a straw man argument to kind of get their race all boiled up. And that comment right there is precisely not, again, not on a graduate level. You want to tell kids about race and everything like that, but to act like race is in no way part of American history is obtuse as all get out. I mean, it's ridiculous how tone deaf someone must be to act like the founding fathers, oh, they were just great men of God who loved everybody except the whole slavery thing. You know what I mean? And the slavery thing was specifically about race. So please go on and take a stadium full of seats acting like we should just leave race out of the history of America when it's deeply embedded in the history of race of this country. So even once slavery was ended, it's not like black folks had just free reign to do whatever they wanted. There were Jim Crow laws that specifically kept them from living their best lives. So life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, yes, unless you're specifically black, in which case the laws on the books were to deny you your ability to live life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. So please be quiet.
All right, so Damon, let me try to represent like we'll push back on it a little bit, right? Like, so how do we teach young people about history and like what the founding fathers did? You know, acknowledging the racial history of slavery while also acknowledging like the stuff in the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the small L liberalism of that idea of representative government and constitutionally documented rights. Like, can we reconcile those ideas and teach both of those things in a way that makes sense and that's coherent?
Yes.
Or is it fundamentally incoherent?
No, it's possible, because here's the thing. The art of the educated mind is to entertain an idea without necessarily accepting it. Now, what conservatives generally want to do is they just want to completely stifle any sort of debate that messes up their mythology of what America is. So again, critical race theory, again, it's a straw man argument. That title, that name is talking about a graduate level course. So again, because conservatives don't really have an argument of any substance, they want to have a gaslighting debate amongst their base and say, let's take this graduate level course and act like we're going to teach it to 5-year-olds. No, what we can do is still have the argument about what the founding fathers were principally, but at the same time talk about the reality of what slavery was, which was subjugating black people. Now, it's not to necessarily belabor the point and talk about that's all history is, but it is part of the history. So to act like we're going to, minimize it, and the way some people try and do, say the Civil War was the war of Northern aggression, they try to minimize what slavery was. That's not history. That's indoctrination. The same indoctrination they say that liberals are trying to do, they're just trying to do it on the opposite end and act like, well, the whole slavery thing, it was just a minor footnote in American history instead of the exact the impetus for everything that America is. It is the richest country on the face of the earth almost exclusively because of slavery. So to act like it's irrelevant or it's a footnote is to show somebody that has no intelligence whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, so lots of good points. The only point I like just academically disagree with you on is that America was the richest country in the world, or because of slavery. I actually think the opposite is true. That it was economically damaging. That slavery, the violence that it needed to be maintained, was very, very expensive. And it held the country back. It held the country back from expanding. You're losing a lot of like opportunity by having to have your entire economic system tied up in this brutality that encourages people to work less, that, you know, uses a lot of resources and violence to keep people oppressed. And that, you know, a lot of the federal dollars at the time, both federal and state dollars, went towards maintaining this institution whereas it could have been somewhere else. So, and actually I got into a big fight with someone on Twitter about this too, because they're like, oh, slavery would have just went away because it was economically inefficient. I'm like, no, I didn't say that. It needed violence to go away because people were so invested in it. It was a government program. But so that's the only point I disagree with you on there. I think we have to acknowledge like what happened while also kind of looking at like, well, what's the where was progress made? What were the ideals? And then how did the founding fathers not live up to those ideals because they participated, you know, in holding humans in bondage? Does that all make sense?
Yeah, it makes
Kevin,
sense.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
Go.
I just want to jump in while I'm here because, Kevin, that is the point. When we talk about, and I love Jamie's point, we talk about history, but we're talking about the true history. The history is that not just do we have slavery, but our founding forefathers, they were raping women, selling their kids, murderers. That, you know, that's what people don't want taught, the true history. To your point, I was a finance major, and day one in business school and every time, I've got 3-4 degrees. They tell you in college that America is a rich nation based on slavery. And not just slavery, but when you steal people's land, when you work labor for free, all of these things. And this is where, you know, we don't want to teach the truth. We want to teach this partial version. The one thing that you said on the other show that I, you know, blankly disagree with, like, well, race, you know, and the guy was saying, why race in history? Our whole history of the homesteading. You know, a lot of white people got free land and they were able to pass it on, but blacks were denied that. So, you know, you can't just ignore that this stuff isn't real. But my last point, and I'll let it get back to Damon, is that even in our history, if you teach the truth and the facts, not just, you know, the philosophical, even white people, working class, poor whites, they were discriminated against. Our founding forefathers were very rich, aristocratic. If you were not blue bloods, if you didn't come over to Mayflower, if you didn't have the money or land, you also did not have your liberty. And that's, again, because we're not teaching the whole history and the truth, which is my problem with education. We're not educating people.
All right. Great points, Kevin. I'm gonna read in there a comment from Jamie, and I know we probably don't have time to answer this in full, but he says, "Are you a liberal, not a libertarian? No, critical race theory is straight up making children hate themselves for being white. Just dropped to slavery. How many years ago was it?" That's a big yikes from me, Jamie. I don't know, man. That's like we got to teach history. It happens. Like there's no. It is straight propaganda to like deny that like slavery happened and that had an impact on our country. Yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah, so to act like that, it takes a liberal to act like we need to infuse reality into history. That's part of the dichotomy that we have in America today, where, you know, everything is part of the two-party paradigm. If you don't believe this, if it's a conservative talking point, you don't believe, you must be liberal, and vice versa. No, truth is bipartisan. Right. And so if you're taking away from it that is making white kids hate themselves, then no, that's not the objective. The objective is to throw reality into it, because the problem right now is that I would contend that there are white kids who have an over appreciation for their whiteness that has, and what critical race theory is attempting to do is show how everything in America is what has a racial hierarchy attached, with white people being at the top. So if that makes white people, quote unquote, hate themselves, then what does that say for their psyche, that they need to be lied to in order to have a high regard for themselves? It's not to make them hate themselves, but it's meant to say that, look, have some appreciation for the fact that others have gone through that you have not had to deal with.
All right. Well, you know, we'll keep talking about this and maybe give Tim a chance to talk next segment. I don't know. We'll see, Tim. And maybe I have a couple of follow-up questions related to what Jamie said too. Thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. We're going to be back with our friends from the Liberty Show in just a few minutes. Talk to you soon.
Now it's Dan Bongino, weekday afternoons. AM 1040 Avon Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, and FM 95.5 Spencerport.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center for tonight. We'll be looking at showers and thundery downpours tapering off. Temps tonight in the upper 50s. Saturday will be partly to mostly cloudy. Temperatures in the low 70s. Chance for a couple of showers, but overall a drier day coming up Saturday. Weather should be good Saturday night for fireworks. Sunday, 4th of July looks good. Partly sunny and a slight bit milder in the mid and upper 70s. I'm Rich Cornelia, WYSL.
At Victor Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Anthony Drive off Route 96 in Victor. Savings are warming up just like the weather. Like the 21 Jeep Gladiator Crew Cab 4x4 pickup, $279 a month for 42 months. A 21 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo 4x4 is just $229 a month for 36 months. Employer's existing Grand Cherokee lease and be returning lessee. The 2020 Jeep Renegade Latitude 4x4 is only $199 a month for 36 months. Must be Conquest or returning lessee. The 21 Ram 1500 Classic Warlock Quad Cab 4x4 pickup is just $189 a month for 36 months. Must be Conquest or returning lessee. Use 3 Ram coupons while supply lasts. Jeep, America's iconic four-wheel drive brand. $2,500 cash or trade and other conditions apply. Get full details from the dealer, equipment, and MSRP vary by model. We're here to fully serve Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram customers in Victor, Canandaigua, Macedon, Fairport, and throughout the Metro and Finger Lakes. Get out of the house and get that new ride you've been wanting. Victor Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, 6560 Anthony Drive in Victor.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Are you looking to update the kitchen, bath, or flooring in your home, but don't know where to begin? Whether it's cabinetry, carpeting, hardwood flooring, tile, or kitchen and bathroom remodeling, Claridge Design Center in Chi-Lai Paul Plaza is the place to start. Locally owned with over 25 years in business, Claridge custom designs and builds quality remodeling projects throughout Rochester and Monroe County. At Claridge, the visions and ideas you have for your home are developed with the experienced Claridge designers to make your dream project a reality. And the quality of service you receive at Claridge is second to none. For more information or to schedule an appointment, call Claridge at 889-5800 or visit their website to meet the Claridge team. See examples of their finished work at claridgedesigncenter.com.
To celebrate State Farm's surprisingly great rates, we gave this song surprisingly great lyrics.
State Farm, prices made just for you. That's what I said now. Prices that surprise you. Just go ahead now. Keep that money in your pockets.
Call State Farm Insurance Agent Christina Breen Hale today, 225-8480.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Join the fun at the Genesee Volley Tennis and Croquet Club in Geneseo. Enjoy tennis on our state-of-the-art clay court or golf-style croquet. Get some exercise, enjoy the competition, and meet a great group of people, all in a picturesque setting. Your first 3 times playing are free. Join the fun at the Genesee Volley Club. Call 233-5338. That's 233-5338, or see our website at www.gvtc.club.
Hope has been restored in my life through the Word of God and through the Open Door mission. I have so many restored relationships with my parents and my children and other family members. And because of that, I'm taking what's been given to me to help others now. I know that I am not defined by the person that I used to be. I've been transformed, I've been restored, and it's all thanks to the Open Door mission.
Restoring hope and changing lives. Go to opendoormission.com.
The Lima Crossroads Festival is free for kids. Pony rides, petting zoo, kids carnival, human car wash, bungee trampoline, balloonmaniafun.com, and the Old Time Jail. Even the bounce house, all free, Saturday, July 31st. Plenty for parents to do too. The list is at limafest.org.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Again, we're live here on WYSL. No phone calls today, but you can leave your comments online if you're listening on A Free Solution, the Facebook page, A Free Solution, the YouTube channel, or the Kevin Wilson pages on Twitter and on Facebook. Wherever you're listening, thank you for being here today. Shout out down the line to our friends over at WACK out in Newark. Appreciate y'all being here as well. And a few more comments coming in. Tim O'Connor saying, the government's the one that's racist, period. I mean, yeah, that's I agree. Tim O'Connor says truth is nonpartisan. Agree with that too. And we got a longer comment from Jamie. I'm gonna kind of summarize it like this. He says liberals change the truth. He says appreciation for his family history, appreciation for being white. He said I came from a poor white welfare family, worked in the fields with illegals. It's racist to consider critical race theory. I work my butt off where I am. My kids are raised to take everyone for who they are, not based on race. And Jamie, look, talking about the history of the United States and like what the founding fathers done and like the bad laws that our government has had and in some cases still has related to race that were made for explicitly racist reasons, and we know this because they said so, doesn't discount your family history, where you've come from, how hard they've worked to get to where they are today. It doesn't discount any of that stuff. It's that we need to acknowledge the truth. We need to acknowledge where liberty was incomplete, where we didn't have equality before the law. I have some issues with critical race theory in relation to the equality before the law. Like, aside of that, I don't know if we're even gonna get to that academic stuff today, but yeah, it doesn't erase any of that stuff. It's just an acknowledgement of the truth, an acknowledgement of history as it has been and how that has affected real people who still have to deal with the consequences of that even centuries later. So these still have long-ranging consequences. All right, so I'm done talking for a little bit. I'm going to make sure that I give Tim a chance to talk. Tim's been waiting very patiently for half of this show. Tim, feel free to respond to any of the stuff we've talked about so far. Tim, what's on your mind?
Kevin, I want to thank you for having us on again. Shout out to the Liberty family. Listen, here's the thing that I've noticed when I hear whites discuss critical race theory. There is this sentiment that the black folks need to get over all of their ills towards slavery because slavery has been abolished. And what they fail to understand is that black folks, we're not only holding an ought against slavery, but we have an ought against the current system that oppresses us. So here's the thing. I listened to your show on critical race theory, and here was the question that you posed. In fact, you posed two questions. If you'll just give me a moment to hit on them very quickly. Your first question, and I quote, were there laws made to reinforce white supremacy? Were there laws made to specifically suppress Black people. I have a problem with the premise of this question. This question puts us in the mindset, and it's not just you. If we listen to Jamie, and if we listen to whites in general, the premise is always, well, there are any laws that suppress Black people. So Black people, the reason why you're being arrested, and I have to give credit to where credit is due, you did hit on this during your show, that yes, there is a discrepancy when it comes to how many Blacks are arrested for crimes, take for instance, marijuana or drug crimes versus white folks that are arrested. But here's the thing, when we talk about critical race theory, we have to realize that the system is still in place that oppresses Black people. There's still a discrepancy between individuals who partake in crack versus those that are able to afford powder cocaine. Now, we discussed this on our show that you were on, but I want to bring your guests, your followers up to speed to where we are. Black folks are poor. Generally speaking, compared to our white counterparts, Black folks are broke, busted, and disgusted. We can't go out to the street corner and cop us some powder cocaine because socioeconomics don't allow us to do that. So we have to shoot up crack cocaine because that's what we can afford. So the system, whether we want to call it racist or not, somehow the system has figured out a way to lock up individuals who smoke crack longer than it does individuals who smoke who sniff powder cocaine. Now we can say that's a coincidence, but if you're a Black individual and you see that most people who are being locked up, the key is thrown away, look like you put one and one together and you say that the system is racist. I live in the city of Atlanta. When I look at the statistics, we decriminalized marijuana about 2 years ago. Yet, the April of 2018, 75% of all individuals that were arrested in the city of Atlanta were arrested for marijuana possession, even though they were holding on to or holding a legal amount of marijuana. Now, perhaps it's a coincidence, but those individuals look like me. Those individuals had dark brown skin. Those individuals had kinky hair. So I find fault and take issue with white people when we talk about race. It's like, well, you should get over it. Slavery was hundreds of years ago, but we want to look past that. The system is still enslaving Black folks, brown folks, people who look like me. And oh, by the way, I grew up as a poor white person and I taught my kids to be good people. Well, I want to give you a hand clap and pat you on the back. But that doesn't change that the system still oppresses people who look like me. I implore all white individuals who want to make this a liberal versus conservative argument, hang out in Black neighborhoods. And I mean low-income Black neighborhoods, and see how Black people are treated. See how Black people interact and how the police, how the system interacts with them before you get on this high horse that, oh, well, the system is equal and the system isn't racist. That hasn't been our experience.
All right. Well, okay. Again, ton of stuff to go through there. So thanks, Tim. And well, actually, let me start with part in the beginning, because I think you said that, like, I never said that there weren't laws built on white supremacy. It's so funny because
no, I gave you credit for that.
You gave me credit because I was a little bit confused because Kevin kind of said that to me privately over the phone too. I was like, I'm pretty sure I said that that was the case, but all right, just clarifying.
And again, just like you just said, that was the case.
Yeah.
What we have now, our loitering laws, modern day loitering laws, stem from Black codes that were created because Black kids whose parents were taken away because of anti-loitering laws. They were imprisoned, jailed, and then farmed out to plantations, even though quote unquote slavery had ended. This is where our modern day loitering laws come from. So I lived in Atlanta, I've lived in New York, I've lived in Miami, I've lived in DC. I can talk about all of those cities. But here in the city of Atlanta, if you look at the statistics from 2018, all of the individuals, well, I shouldn't say all, but the overwhelming majority of all individuals that were arrested for anti-loitering, or for loitering laws, I should say, and jaywalking, those individuals looked like they were black. They weren't white. They weren't Caucasian. So it's disingenuous to say that the system isn't racist when it acts in a racist manner.
Right. So, I mean, like the key question is, right, like, you know, is there a fundamental flaw in the laws themselves, in enforcement? And, you know, when we come back, I want to talk about that, right? Like, do those like laws like that make sense? Are they fundamental flawed? Do they need to be enforced differently based on race, which is what some proponents of critical race theory advocate, which is one of the issues that I don't like. I'd rather the law be actually equal. All right. So thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. We got one more segment coming up next. Talk to you soon.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Hi, my name is Ryan Bourne.
And I'm Danica Bourne.
And we're the owners of South Coast Tax. We would like to thank our Lord for protecting us from evil. Psalm 91 states, "He is my refuge and my fortress, for he will rescue us from every trap and protect us from deadly disease."
South Coast Tax are Christian-based tax accountants and attorneys who specialize in releasing bank levies, wage garnishments, and filing complex tax returns. We are the leaders in acceptance of offers and compromise with awesome results.
We are also a small firm who will treat you like family and not just a number.
Call us today at 1-800-TAX-1176 for a free consultation, and we'll take the time to explain all of the programs that you qualify for in order to allow you a fresh start.
In John 8:36, so if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. And one way we can achieve that is by being debt-free. So let us help you today. Call us at 1-800-TAX-1176, and together we can help achieve this goal by putting the IRS tax debt behind you for good. Again, that number is 1-800-TAX-1176.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today, joined by our friends from the Liberty Show, Kevin Fortune, Tim Smith and Damon Kennedy. And we got a comment over the break from Will. He says, if police are so bad, if cities are so bad, why not move away from where the police are, get out of the city? So, Tim, I'll let you address that one, too, if you want to talk about that.
Well, I actually did move away from this city. I moved away to a farm that was 350 plus acres. And guess what? The police were the police in the country. They were just as oppressive in the country as they were in the city. What we have to identify as the problem is not the police. The police are simply a symptom. The laws are not the problem. We can talk and argue until we're blue in the face that maybe we should look at the laws and see how the laws can be changed. It's not about the laws. It's not about the police. It's about the system. That's the issue that we have. But the talking heads, the political classes, the elites, they don't want us to actually talk about the system. They want us to talk about parts of the system. They want us to talk about the symptoms that that we experience. The police work for the system. Here's an interesting thing. I grew up in Miami. We had the largest NAACP chapter in the country when I was a kid in the 90s. There was a movement to hire more Black police officers because the thought is that if you hire more Black police officers, that the police would police Black communities in an equitable fashion. If I can get with the leftists for a moment, they would police Black communities in a fair manner. Well, it wasn't long before Black leaders in Black communities realized that wasn't the case. And the reason why it wasn't the case was because the police, the Black police officers, they were part of the system. They were taught that, listen, you're not Black, you're not white, you're blue. And what they failed to understand was at the end of the day, because they thought of themselves as being blue versus being Black, they saw the people that they were policing simply as subjects. And because we're on the radio, I can't feel it. I can't say it the way I feel it. But either way.
Darn you, FCC.
They didn't see them as people.
Yes. All right. So let's start, and I'll say okay, go ahead.
I'm enjoying this discussion. I said I was going to say anything, but I really like Jamie, and I hope you give me his information. I would love to have him on our show. But he brought up some really good questions and some reality. I'm writing a book. I teach leadership and business coaching. And one of the problems is we just don't live in reality. And you and I have had this conversation. We do live in our own reality, but that's not always everyone's reality. And that's what Tim is bringing up. Now, as the quote, King of Liberty, I love libertarianism. Jamie's point about we sound like liberals, not libertarians, but the whole modern, quote, American libertarian movement started with the abolitionists. Now, they were not really pro-Black or whatever, but libertarians believe you have individual rights and freedoms. You do not have the right to own another person. You don't have a right to suppress their rights. So that is libertarianism. And that is where this big movement came. And the second point that he was making that was so long ago, and that's what Tim and Damon, all through history, even after that, there have been systematic laws. And Kevin, you and I talked about some of those. And Damon sent me some papers I'm going to send to you. There's so many of them where Blacks were not even allowed to own a hog or a cow, not allowed to read or write. And a lot of that was not years and years and years ago. There are still systems when people go to college to get funding for school and different things. So, this concept that was so long ago, everything is equal now, it's just baloney. And it's not just with Blacks. Women, are still oppressed. Maybe gay couples, whether you agree with it or not, is irrelevant. There are systems to keep them down. Maybe they can't adopt kids. So as Tim is saying, it's the system and it's violating people's liberties. It's not just a race, but because it's been the big elephant in the room. But where are individual rights? They're not there, and that's something that we have to deal with. But denying it is just crazy.
And here's the thing. I'll be quick about it. Let's identify what the system is. The system is the duopoly. It is the Republicans and it is the Democrats, and to a lesser extent, as demonstrated by Jamie, it is the Libertarian Party that has conditioned us, that has taught us that in order for you to actually look at a situation, you have to look at it through the lens of a Republican or the lens of a liberal. And if you don't, then you're not with us. If you don't, then you're not part of our tribe. That's the system working as it was created to work, to keep us in our corners instead of actually coming together to discuss, to debate, to acknowledge the problems that are wrong in how we govern, and more importantly, if we're honest, how we're governed by the system.
Yeah. All right. So kind of mixing some of the points that you guys have made here. You keep saying the system, right? And Kevin had brought a point about like explicitly like racist laws that existed in the past, and those don't exactly exist anymore, right? Like, I mean, some are still on the books. They're not enforced. They should get off the books, right?
They are. Loitering laws are still on the books. And they're enforced.
Tim, in theory, that is race neutral, though, right? Like, in theory, it's not like you can't be here if you're black.
It's not race neutral,
right? But
and it's not, because if you send a bunch of police to a black community and you enact loitering laws where there is no victim, but you arrest them because you know that when these individuals go to jail, they can't afford what's called a quote unquote pay attorney. You know that they're going to plead out, and when they plead out, they're going to pay into the police retirement fund, a fund that goes to the DA and a fund that goes to a judge. That's not racial neutral. That's you taking advantage of poor black individuals. Now, we can have the argument, and I think you and I had this on our show, that it's a class issue, but the only reason why it's a class issue is because first it was a race issue.
Yeah, but again, though, I don't think my point is incorrect, though, to say that like loitering laws as written, they are bad. I disagree with loitering laws. I think you have freedom to stand in the space, and their enforcement is really bad. But like, and I would get rid of them. But the law itself is ostensibly neutral, and understanding the difference between that, like even like the crack and cocaine sentencing disparities, ostensibly it's just like, well, we just treat this differently because that's how the law does it. It's not racist. So how do we over? It
was racist. The Reagan administration specifically went after black individuals because they saw black folks as being a plight on the community as a whole. So to say that drug laws are race neutral, that's historically incorrect. When Reagan came into office and they pumped money into the DARE programs, the first thing they did was send more police officers and call them resource officers into black communities. That's not to say they didn't go into white communities, but that was the second thought for them to go into white communities. They targeted black communities.
Tim, you're not entirely wrong. But I'm saying that there's like a
I'm
missing
not wrong
piece of
at all.
information. No,
it's fact.
No, I don't think. All right, fine. Just yell at me. We'll let Kevin speak.
And then I'm gonna be through on that Damon family. But Kevin, and once again, this is to my point. We've had, and libertarians, why, especially the big LP, why they fail. You're talking about in theory. We're not talking about theory. We're talking about reality. I'll give you one example. There are a lot of laws. They are, enforced directly, but indirectly. There's still so much, whether it's on the law, we call them norms. But like even where I live in an all-white subdivision. And when I first moved over here, the police came up, asked me why I was in this area. When I go, I got plenty of money. When I go to Neiman Marcus, they have to go look up my credit card, or these things are very real. But like I said, we can't just use theory. And that's where a lot of people are messing up. There is a reality. I'm not saying everybody's racist, the whole world, but you can't ignore that these things are not there. Whether the laws are written or whatever, they're still very biased. Even at college, there are classes that only certain people have to qualify, and it's not just based on grades. You have to get recommended for. But sometimes your race, your economic status, your sexual orientation, all of these can go into play. So we just can't ignore it. And I'm through, and I'll let Damon finish.
All right. Well, we only have like a minute left, guys, and maybe a bit less than that. And Kevin, I think that's a good point. Like, you have to look at the actual outcomes, which again, I agree with you, Tim. I'm just saying, like, that needs to be like explained for an audience that is unfamiliar with that. All right, so Damon, I didn't give you a chance to speak. We're gonna have to do a whole other show on this on the Liberty Show too. All right, so thanks again for joining us on A Free Solution. Make sure you're catch the Liberty Show on WYSL 7 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. Thanks again for being here. Have a wonderful weekend. Happy Independence Day to everyone.